来，大家看一看，咱们大北京从来没有这么安静过。
Hey, come take a look, everyone. Beijing has never been this quiet. There's nobody on the streets. It's 9 a.m. on Guangzhou East Street. I've honestly never seen it this silent before.
It's
already past 3 p.m., and still, no one's at work. Beijing is now facing a rare sense of economic slowdown. Streets and alleys are unusually quiet, with few customers in sight. Even the once crowded rush-hour subways are no longer packed. The city's long-standing expectation of high costs and high returns is fading. The population has dropped, and overall vitality is clearly weakening.
现在北京的人口比以前少了很多。
Beijing's population feels way smaller than before. Yesterday morning at 8, I took the subway and actually got a seat. Can you believe that? Getting a seat during Beijing's rush hour. No way, right? And driving during peak hours now? Barely any traffic. It used to be bumper to bumper with red lights everywhere.
现在很多店都关了，这个 H&M 是连着3层，你看这些都关了。
So many stores are closed now. This H&M used to span 3 floors. Look, all shut down. The upper levels closed. Second, third, fourth floors, all closed. Even parts of the ground floor are gone. Is the economy really this bad?
平常最繁华的街道啊，景点附近。
The busiest streets and tourist areas like Drum Tower or Wangfujing Avenue have become so empty. The day before yesterday, I went to get a haircut, and the stylist told me if I had come just one day later, they would have already shut down. Yesterday, that little grocery shop my husband always goes to, fruit vendor gone, meat vendor gone, vegetable seller gone, even the staple food shop is gone. In these past couple of days, the subway is practically empty.
In daily life, economic slowdowns are mostly seen in 2 key areas: employment and retail consumption. Recent official data reflects this trend. On April 20th, the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Statistics released data for the first quarter of 2026. Beijing's GDP grew by 5.9% year-on-year, above the national average. However, retail sales of consumer goods fell by 0.6%, and automobile sales dropped by 19%. These figures show that weakening consumption and shrinking domestic demand have not improved in 2026, but continue to worsen. The official average urban surveyed unemployment rate was 4%, within what authorities call a reasonable range. However, this figure does not fully reflect real pressures such as low wages, reduced working hours, and involuntary flexible employment. Some analysts say Beijing's 5.9% GDP growth in the first quarter was driven by a small number of concentrated industries. They describe this as a shift from real economy to virtual economy, where high barriers prevent ordinary workers and small businesses from benefiting. Over a long period, researchers studying official data find that Beijing's consumption slowdown is not sudden, but part of a steady downward trend. US-based economist David Jun Huang noted that from 2022 to 2025, Beijing consumption saw a brief rebound, followed by a rapid decline and then prolonged period at low levels. In 2022, under pandemic restrictions, Beijing's retail sales totaled 1.38 trillion yuan, down 7.2% year-on-year. After restrictions eased, 2023 saw a 4.8% increase. However, the trend reversed in 2024, with sales falling 2.7% to 1.4 trillion yuan. In 2025, sales declined again by 2.9% to 1.37 trillion yuan. Huang also noted that even without restrictions in 2025, consumption was 11.7 billion yuan lower than in 2022. He said the 2023 rebound came from a low base and from a release of pent-up demand. The declines in 2024 and 2025 reflect deeper structural issues, including rising uncertainty around jobs, investment, and policy. As a result, households have cut discretionary spending. This type of demand contraction, driven by risk concerns, may be harder to reverse than pandemic-related shocks. Some believe Beijing can remain stable without relying on market demand. However, economists warn that too much reliance on centralized control can reduce flexibility, creating only the appearance of stability. Beijing was once a leading center for innovation in the internet and education sectors, but policy changes have sharply reduced market space. Companies have shifted from expansion to survival, leading to less innovation and more intense competition. Large institutions in finance, energy, telecommunications, and state-owned enterprises make up a large share of Beijing's economy. While this brings stability, it may also reduce efficiency and slow growth over time. High housing costs, expensive living, and limited upward mobility have reduced Beijing's appeal. In recent years, the city has even seen net population outflows, which is rare among top-tier cities. With fewer young people moving in, economic vitality may weaken. Analysts warn that Beijing could gradually lose its competitive edge and shift towards a role focused on maintaining political stability. As China's political and economic center, signs of weaker street-level and household activity in Beijing suggest it may be nearing a broader downturn. This raises concerns that other regions, especially those relying on fiscal support and less advanced industries, may already face deeper difficulties. Attention now is shifting to Shanghai, China's financial center. Once known for prosperity and opportunity, the city has seen clear changes in recent years. Crowds have thinned, activities have slowed, and the underlying energy that drives the city appears to be fading.
At lunchtime today, I passed by Changping Road. It should have been peak dining time, but this whole row of shops was empty. I was planning to eat at Bibao here, but it was closed too. Has the economy really gotten this bad? And this is the city center.
现在上海的情况真的很反常吗？
Shanghai right now just feels off. It's not the magic city we knew a few years ago. This year, every industry is struggling deep down. Jobs are getting harder and harder to find, and salaries keep dropping. Even positions paying 6,000 RMB are flooded with top university grads and overseas returnees. That once super lively Zhongou Street night market, completely dead now. The boutique shops I knew on Huaihai Road and Nanjing Road, all closed. Those girls packed up and went back to their hometowns. So many business owners mortgaged their homes and cars just to stay afloat and still couldn't make it. They had to shut down.
哎呀，现在上海这个行情了吗？
Man, is this really what Shanghai's come to? Look, this whole stretch used to be packed with food stalls and trendy spots. Now it's just empty storefronts all the way down. And back there used to be a huge place too. This area was like the hub of Shanghai's nightlife for young people. There were several big nightclubs here, and now it's just this bad. Why has even Shanghai reached this point? Many once believed that, as a center for rulemaking and capital allocation, Shanghai could remain stable despite changes in manufacturing. However, a financial hub depends on flow, not stability. When the movement of capital, talent, and business slows, even a strong system can quickly weaken. Shanghai's role as a financial center relies on attracting outside capital and distributing it within the country. Now these channels are loosening. The withdrawal of foreign companies has become one of the city's biggest challenges. In the past, many multinational firms set up regional headquarters in Shanghai. Today, as foreign businesses scale back or adjust, the city's spillover benefits have sharply declined. This loss of liquidity is most visible in the office market and business conditions. In the first quarter of 2026, Shanghai's office vacancy rate reached 23.4%. In areas such as Hongqiao, some office rents have fallen back to 2010 levels. In some cases, landlords even offer zero deposit leases. To survive, many companies have downgraded their office environments, and this has become increasingly common.
钱真是越来越难挣了。
Money is getting harder and harder to earn. We moved from Lujiazui Central Greenland to Songjiang G60 9 months ago, and this afternoon the boss told us we are moving back again at the end of the month. Back in 2018, when the economy was booming, we moved from Hongqiao to Tianling in Xuhui and rented a standalone 2-story loft. We spent over 2 million RMB on renovations. The break room was big enough to play badminton in. Then a pandemic hit, and traditional industries just lost all their orders. We struggled to hang on, doing everything we could. Finally, in March 2024, we made the call to move to Lujiazui Central Greenland.
The vlogger's company moved offices 3 times in 2 years, each time to a worse location. So far, it has avoided salary cuts, layoffs, or delayed wages. The fact that the owner has managed to keep the business running is no small feat. This reflects the broader situation faced by many companies in Shanghai's real estate and service sectors. More concerning is a sharp drop in consumption. On Shanghai streets, there are fewer people and even less spending. In extreme cases, a 1,000 square meter supermarket has failed to find a tenant even at a monthly rent of 2,000 yuan, equivalent to about $293. A front desk job offering 4,500 yuan per month, equivalent to about $659 per month, can receive 900 applications within 2 days. At the same time, service prices have dropped sharply, with delivery fees falling to just a few yuan, and basic services such as haircuts priced at around 5 yuan, and massages at about 10 yuan. When such trends appear in top-tier cities like Shanghai, conditions elsewhere may even be worse. If Shanghai's problem is weakening liquidity and declining financial influence, then Guangzhou, once another leading first-tier city, faces a similar challenge. The restructuring of global supply chains is pushing it to the margins. Guangzhou has long been known as one of China's most business-oriented cities. However, its success depends on two key conditions: smooth global trade and its role as a key transit hub. Both are now under pressure as more international trade bypasses the city. The Canton Fair, often seen as a barometer of China's foreign trade, reflects this shift. Order conversions have dropped, and the mix of buyers has changed. Large clients from Europe and the United States are less visible, replaced by buyers from Asia, Africa, and Latin America. This has led to smaller, more fragmented orders, lower prices, and weaker bargaining power for Guangzhou. Guangzhou's traditional strength lies in wholesale markets for light industrial goods. However, these industries operate on very thin margins and are highly sensitive to cost changes. As raw materials and labor costs rise and global demand weakens, especially with the loss of high-margin Western orders, manufacturers face growing pressure. Business turnover has slowed, inventory cycles have lengthened, and capital is tied up for longer periods, increasing risk. Models based on fast turnover and lower margins are no longer effective. Many business owners are becoming more cautious, scaling back, or leaving the market. When factory cash flow breaks down, the most direct result is a collapse at the base of the manufacturing sector. Another clothing factory owner has run off. I heard he owes a lot of money, 2 months of rent unpaid, suppliers haven't been paid, and workers haven't received their wages. Being a boss really isn't easy. Is the market really this bad right now? When factories shut down, trade declines, and business owners close operations or leave, the job market falls into extreme competition and severe wage pressure. In a first-tier city like Guangzhou, where living costs remain high, young people face intense pressure just to maintain a basic standard of living.
Wages in Guangzhou just feel unreal to me. I've been job hunting lately, and so have a lot of people around me. When I go to interviews, the salaries companies offer are shocking, like 2,500. And the commission is so low. If the base pay is that low, the commission should at least be higher. Otherwise, if both are low, how are people supposed to get by? If your basic living costs aren't even covered, it's hard to stay motivated to perform and earn more. How are people supposed to live? I mean, 2,500 in Guangzhou, a first-tier city. I can't imagine how hard you'll have to work just to get by. It's really tough.
This reflects the current reality at Guangzhou. When wages in a major city fall to such levels, the impact goes beyond reduced spending power. It also weakens young people's confidence in building a future there. The situation is not limited to Guangzhou. Shenzhen, once known for its rapid growth as a special economic zone, is now facing stagnation and intense pressure. Over the past 2 decades, Shenzhen has been a symbol of economic growth, known for technology, efficiency, and opportunity. It quickly grew from an export hub into a global center for electronics manufacturing. Its dense supply chains once allowed ideas to become mass-produced products within days. However, as conditions change, these strengths are turning into pressures. Shenzhen's past efficiency relied on 3 factors: low costs, fast response, and steady extreme demand. Today, all 3 are weakening. First, rising costs are squeezing profits. Manufacturing wages have increased sharply, along with other hidden costs, raising pressure on businesses. As profits shrink, companies are forced to relocate or shut down. Second, external demand and reliance on global markets remain key risks. As supply chains shift towards diversification, orders have become less stable. Third, the city's talent-driven growth is slowing. Shenzhen once relied on young people who believed hard work could change their future. Now, high housing costs, expensive living, heavy workloads, and limited returns have created a clear imbalance. As upward mobility becomes harder, the city risks losing its core momentum. Economic data highlights these challenges. In the first quarter of 2026, Shenzhen's Grade A office vacancy rate reached 30.1%, meaning about 1 in 3 office buildings is empty. By comparison, Tokyo's vacancy rate is about 0.5%, while in the United States it has fallen to 17.7% after the pandemic. Even with incentives such as rent-free periods and subsidies, landlords in Shenzhen are struggling to keep tenants. Empty office buildings reflect a wider business retreat, while declining commercial areas show weaker consumer demand. It's over, completely over. What used to be Shenzhen's top luxury district is now wiped out. Not a single shop left. You look around and see tens of thousands of square meters of commercial space with 7 or 8 floors all empty. Just a few stores are barely hanging on, and business is so bad they can hardly survive. Who would have thought? This place used to be impossible to get a shop in. Every inch was valuable. Restaurants, fruit shops, clothing stores, all packed with long lines. Now it's completely deserted. In places once hard to find retail space, entire buildings now sit largely empty. Restaurants that once had long lines are cutting prices sharply to attract consumers. These changes point to a deeper shift, with Shenzhen moving from a high growth rate engine to a system under intense pressure. Taken together, the challenges in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, along with foreign capital outflows and rising job concerns, show growing strain on a development model that has lasted for decades. More concerning is that these trends are appearing in first-tier cities, which usually has stronger resilience. Regions that depend on them for support are likely facing even greater pressure. Some have begun to question the outcome of the past decade of leadership. As economic pressures mount, debate over policy direction and long-term structural changes is becoming increasingly urgent.
Shenzhen's economy feels really sluggish right now. Restaurants I used to wait in line for on weekends, I can now eat there for half the price, and they are almost empty.